Hola chicos, buenos días, feliz miércoles, bienvenido a tu show con Oila.
Y oílo, ¿cómo están todos? Feliz miércoles. Qué emocionados estamos hoy ya que tenemos un invitado muy especial, ¿no, Andrés?
Exacto, tenemos un invitado súper especial hoy. Vamos a hacerlo en inglés, vamos a traducir un poco para ustedes chicos. Un invitado súper especial, tenemos el VP de Grayscale, Ben. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here with One Tree Wealth Management.
Very excited to have you with us. We have a lot of questions, right? So we want to get into it, and we're going to be translating, kind of like working it out, kind of like Spanglish, right? You want to call it?
Yes, that's great. So, para recordarles que todo el contenido es informativo, no estamos dando ninguna asesoría. Así que tomen notitas porque yo creo que va a ser un programa espectacular para ustedes, para que aprendan todo esta tendencia, ¿no? Sobre criptomoneda. ¿Qué es? ¿Cómo funciona? ¿Por qué es tan mencionada hoy? Entonces, aquí tenemos a una persona muy especial que sabe mucho de eso y nos va a explicar qué es criptomoneda. So, Brandon, good morning. Thank you for being here. Tell us in one word, what would you say is crypto? What would you say in one word, if you can describe it?
One word, the way that I would describe crypto is decentralized.
Decentralized.
I like it. Decentralized.
Descentralizado, dice Brandon, que si él lo pudiera resumir en una palabra, fuera descentralizado. Entonces, bueno, ¿qué tienes tú, Andrés?
No, a mí me encanta. Oye, ¿qué te parece si le haces preguntas y les ayudo a traducir?
Podemos ir así, tú tranquilo,
listo.
Que todo lo que tú le quieras preguntar. Chicos, si tienen alguna pregunta, pueden empezar a escribir en el chat, ya que vamos a leerlos aquí en el show.
Yeah. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, right? So what is cryptocurrency, Ben?
Cryptocurrency is a decentralized peer-to-peer money system, all based on a very basic piece of technology called blockchain technology. For example, Bitcoin is the largest cryptocurrency, and it's its own blockchain. It's been around for 16 years, and Bitcoin has nearly 2 trillion in assets behind it.
Wow.
All of this is based on blockchain technology.
On blockchain. Mm-hmm. So here comes the second question. What is a blockchain, right? For our viewers out there, what is a blockchain?
A blockchain, the simplest way I can describe this, it is a ledger in the sky. It's very similar to how, if you think about how credit card transactions are processed.
Okay.
You get a statement every month showing where you swipe your card, where money was moved. Same thing with how the traditional banking system worked. Blockchain technology records transactions on this ledger in the sky, an Excel spreadsheet in the sky, where there's no intermediary, there's no bank, there's no government that's controlling and dictating how money is moved. It's extremely transparent.
So it's like a Google Sheet, like you say, like a Google Sheet where every single transaction is printed there. People can see it, right? But they cannot modify it.
Exactly. Andres, I could send you 1,000 Bitcoin right now, which would be very nice. That transaction is
I give you
open.
my wallet number.
Yeah, so that transaction is very transparent for everyone to see. You know, the benefit of blockchain technology, where bank records, you need to subpoena them. You know, they're very tough to access in a lot of ways. Bitcoin and that specific blockchain is extremely transparent.
Awesome.
So Brandon, I have a question for you. So is crypto money a technology, or you think it's an asset class?
I would describe crypto as an emerging asset. Now, crypto is there's over 4 million different types of cryptocurrencies with around 4 trillion in total assets behind that. Each cryptocurrency has very different use cases. So at Grayscale Investments, we like to categorize those 4 million different tokens into different sectors. For example, Bitcoin, we would categorize as a currency, money. Ethereum, we would categorize that more as a technology, as a smart contract platform, the crypto term used there. So
That's a great point, Ben, right? Because people just think that all the cryptos are just type of currencies, and it's not, right? So you mentioned Bitcoin, right? Because it's probably is the oldest, the more established, right? It's kind of like people resemble it to like gold
yes.
because it's establishment, but Ethereum is completely different.
Yeah, so Bitcoin, you may have heard the analogy digital gold. I think that is a very good way of looking at Bitcoin. Ethereum, if everyone on video has an iPhone, I'm sure they've been on the Apple App Store. The technology behind that is iOS technology. And what that allows you to do is you can do everything on your iPhone, from social media to banking to video games. There's so many different use cases that you can use using that iOS technology. Ethereum is a very similar piece of technology that allows you to do all of those same applications without having to, worry about corporations, meddling as far as censoring content. You can send money on the Ethereum network in a bunch of different ways than just Bitcoin allows you to do.
That's
Using
awesome.
in a decentralized way.
So let me explain to the public there. So estamos hablando de Bitcoin y Ethereum, right? Entonces él dice que hay más o menos 4 trillones de assets en criptomonedas. Los dos más grandes son Bitcoin, que es el más antiguo. Bitcoin está muy establecido. Básicamente se mueve como un currency. Para ponerlo en términos materiales sería como oro, ¿sí? Porque es escaso, porque tiene un límite. Pero Ethereum no es una moneda. Ethereum es el sistema. So, hagan de cuenta que si ustedes compran un iPhone, ¿cierto? Un Apple Phone. El Apple Phone es Bitcoin, pero el sistema es el iOS, que es el software, el cual permite que todo funcione con Apple, es Ethereum. El iOS es Ethereum. So, es el sistema limpio que permite las transacciones directamente del consumidor a consumidor. Algo para entender, porque es un sistema ya establecido, con crecimiento y bueno, ¿no? Gracias por eso.
Bitcoin is, again, digital gold. It is a sound form of money. I think it's a very different asset than Ethereum. Think about Ethereum as the new version of the internet. If you had the opportunity to invest in the internet, domain names, HTMLs, or in the early 2000s, it's a great investment.
Yeah.
Ethereum allows you to transfer value back and forth, where the internet allowed you to transfer information.
Exactly.
So this is it's called Web 3.0, where the internet was Web 2.0. And there's a few examples there, as far as payments, investments, we can talk about as well.
That's awesome. So let's also clear or clean the debris, right? Because you mentioned there's 4 million different cryptocurrencies, right? So, chicos, hay más de 4 millones de criptomonedas disponibles. No todo es bueno. La mayoría es, no quiero decir basura, pero pues es lo que es, right? He got that, right? So, entender las que están establecidas, ¿sí? Y lo que hablan el hearsay, ¿no? Y aquí es donde Grayscale tiene un gran punto, porque ellos son los maestros de esta parte. You guys were pretty much the pioneers, because you enforced and brought all this cryptocurrency in a legal manner for institutionalized investments in the United States. Well, we don't talk a little bit about that, because I think that's crucial for our listeners, right? And people to understand the community of what is it, because my perspective is this already passed from the hearsay of it might be good, is it trending? No. You gotta look at it as a long-term investment, and this is the reasons why it should be positioned in some people's portfolios at some point. So, we don't talk a little about that history, right? Because it's a little baby that has come to a fruition at this point.
Yes. So Bitcoin started in 2009. Grayscale, my company, we launched a Bitcoin investment product in 2013. So we brought 2 investors to be able to have in their retirement account, in their brokerage account, a fund that replicates the price of Bitcoin. Now, 2013 is where we got our start. Fast forward 10 years later. In 2024, we sued the SEC, won that lawsuit, paving the way for Bitcoin ETFs to come to market. And since January 11th of 2024, we've seen over 100 billion in net inflows come into Bitcoin ETFs, giving us the stamp of approval that the lawsuit, the money, the effort, the time that we spent in order to sue and win that case was in fact the right move. And you're seeing everyone from pension plans, institutions, endowments, sovereign wealth funds, wealth managers adopt this in portfolios because the ETF offers that secure, easy way to invest in an asset like Bitcoin, like Ethereum.
That's amazing.
Wow, how great is that, right? That now we have that opportunity. And I know that it was something that it was fought for a long time. It was a lot of offers rejected, if you will, right? But at the end of the day, with technology, with everything that is happening now with AI, right? It's like, this is a new deal. We have to move forward. So, I think that was amazing when I heard that story. It's very, exciting and powerful, when you were like, okay, we're going to do this and we got it done. So, para ustedes que nos están escuchando, lo que está explicando Brandon es de que no fue tan fácil porque no nos daban el acceso, si quieres, para que esto fuera puesto en el mercado, en los portafolios, en las partes de pensiones, esos portafolios de pensiones, o nosotros también trabajar con ello. Entonces, ahora que ya lo aprobaron, porque tuvo que pasar una aprobación, después de tantas ofertas que fueron rechazadas, ¿no? Donde pides permiso para hacer ciertas cosas, por fin ganaron y ellos fueron unos de esas personas, ¿no? Que estuvieron ahí y entendieron la importancia de esta moneda digital. Y ahora, gracias a eso, está en los portafolios, está disponible. Ahora, muchos money managers la están poniendo. También, en esos planes que acabamos de hablar, como el 401k o todas esas pensiones.
Correcto. Sobre todo hay que mirar la parte del riesgo, ¿no? Que vamos ahorita a entender un poquito qué es la diferencia entre comprar cripto y cómo se almacena. So let's walk out a little bit, people walking through, like, for example, what is buying crypto and storage in crypto. It's two different things. And I think that Grayscale, you guys play a huge role when it comes to that, because most people don't understand how crypto gets storage, right? And when it's decentralized, it's great, but it comes with great responsibility that most people don't know how to manage, right? So let's talk a little about that part.
Exactly correct. So before 2013, if you were to buy Bitcoin, it's very similar to buying gold. If you buy gold bullion, jewelry, you need to store that. You need to have security. You need to take time, effort, and money in order to make sure that your gold bullion, your jewelry, is secure at the end of the day.
Right.
Same thing with Bitcoin, except Bitcoin isn't physical, it's digital.
Yeah.
In order to store this digital asset, you need to purchase Bitcoin on an exchange like a Coinbase, Fidelity, things of that nature. And from there, you need to transfer that from an exchange to a little hardware wallet, something that is the size of a key fob. In order to access the Bitcoin, you need to have a seed phrase, a very intense password that only you can access. Yeah. So there is a lot of pressure. If you were to lose that seed phrase, I'm sure we've all heard a story about people losing their password and their Bitcoin that they bought in 2012 is all gone. And that's unfortunately the way that it works. If you are careless with that password, if by chance that password gets, someone has that and, bad actors get a hold of that, a lot of fraud and that Bitcoin can be stolen right off that hard drive. So that's what we call self-custody. And at Grayscale, we're big believers in self-custody. But just like if you're storing your gold, you're storing your jewelry, it takes great responsibility and a plan in place. Now, the ETF is a little bit different, where the ETF It is professionally custodied, an institutional grade.
Bingo.
At Coinbase. It is extremely easy. That's where I have the bulk of my Bitcoin. A quick story, I got married last year, and I was explaining to my wife where my Bitcoin was, what my password was. We're just getting our finances in order.
Right.
And she's a very smart woman, diligent with her finances. She looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like, it is a very complex process for the average person. So that was, in my mind, what went off was I need to just continue to allocate to the ETF because it is in my retirement account. It's in a brokerage account. It's with my financial advisors to professionally manage risk, taxes, all the good things associated with that. So self-custody at Grayscale, we are advocates for. That's how Bitcoin was originally founded and advocated for. But the ETF is almost like that easy button. You have the opportunity to store this in a very institutional grade, secure manner.
Correct. So it's a great way to be part or position some of your portfolio or your finances within the Bitcoin realm or cryptocurrency realm, and in the same way, diminishing the risk, right? Because you're transferring that risk to that institution to have it managed or properly stored, right, and control. So I don't take in that risk. I'm saying, okay, I'm losing my wallet, I'm losing my password. Like you say, you were talking before. How many accounts are being lost? Of those people that just bought directly crypto?
It's estimated that 2 million Bitcoin is lost.
Wow.
And key to remember, there's only 21 million Bitcoin that's ever going to be in circulation. 20 million Bitcoin is already in circulation.
Wow. It's like 10% gone.
Yep.
Wow, guys, it's so exciting. So lo que está hablando Brandon es que si tú compraste, por ejemplo, el Bitcoin y no te acuerdas de tus passwords, es muy fácil que la gente, yo me recuerdo incluso que hace 3 años me hablaron, me hicieron, ¿sabes qué? Necesito cambiar, tengo criptomoneda, pero no me recuerdo dónde quedó mi password. Y simplemente no pudieron canjear ese dinero. Entonces, lo que está diciendo Brandon ahorita, que hay una cantidad de personas que lo han perdido y creen que es como 2 millones.
Hay 2 millones de cuentas
2 millones
perdidas.
de cuentas perdidas. Entonces, si tú no recuperas eso, acuérdense que solamente hay tantos Bitcoins, ¿verdad? Y si están más de 2 millones, que se sabe, ¿no? Más o menos, porque no se sabe la cuenta exacta. Entonces, imagínate, ya se perdió ese dinero, especialmente si lo compraste cuando empezó, no sabías realmente lo que estabas haciendo, pues ahí está ahí el riesgo. Porque todo tiene riesgo. Ahorita vamos a hablar de los riesgos, de la volatilidad y los errores comunes, ¿no? Y yo creo que uno de estos que acaba de mencionar es un error común, que la gente lo compra y se olvida y después ya se le olvidó dónde puso ese documento o ese papelito donde escribió cuál era su contraseña. Así hay que tener mucho cuidado con eso porque si lo pierdes no hay forma de recuperarlo. So if you lose that password, is no way to
it's gone.
To recuperate it, right?
No.
There's no way to find it again. It's just totally gone. It's no, like, sometimes I lose my passwords. I have like 300 passwords, right? But I'm able to somehow recoup them.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no help desk or an email that you can get sent for
Really?
password.
That's not the good news.
That's the
Esa
one
no es la
thing.
buena noticia.
So think back in the old times, like you were collecting treasure gold and you go and bury the gold and you forgot where you put it.
You forgot the map.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly where it is.
Yep.
So
And
you
any
went-
pirate can go and get it.
You went and just buried into this island that you forgot the map to get there.
Exactly. And some people, they have this 16-letter seed phrase, and they're going to put it in places, and I'm not going to tell everyone where I hide mine, but sometimes it is buried just like gold. It isn't in a safety deposit box. It's spread out in like your mom's medicine cabinet is like a positive one where like the crypto bros put their seed phrase in there. People get creative about hiding that because if you do lose that, you only have 20 guesses and then you get locked out forever.
Wow. So, lo que dice Brando, que solamente tienes 20 oportunidades de recuperarlo si te olvidó. Y si no, ya, dejo.
Correcto.
Te jodiste.
So the other part is like, okay, so there are 3 different ways to storage, right? Hot wallets, cold wallets, and institutional. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes.
So with the hot and the cold is what that risk comes in, right?
Yes.
But the institutional, they are the ones who have the responsibility to hold it, right? I guess they have it in trust as well. Yeah, so it's
Correct.
protected. So for the consumer, when they go on the institutional side, they're not bearing that risk.
Correct. And Andres, you said this very well earlier, where the risk when you're owning the ETF, when you have this, when institutions are custodying like this at Coinbase, Bitcoin is stored in a cold storage wallet. They are doing self-custody themselves. But for example, what they do is they have a very small team that is like government level clearance for these people that are in charge of custodying these assets. That seed phrase is actually dispersed all throughout the world, where you may have a part of that code, that part of that password in Japan, another part of that may be in India, all these very remote places where, in the event of, someone trying to get my seed phrase,
It's like the government, no, Brandon? It's like everybody has a piece of information, and in order to get that password, you have to get all these important people together.
It is,
So it sounds like that important. So, como ven, esto es súper importante, dice él, que no, todos estos passwords no están reunidos en un solo lugar. Cuando inviertas en una institución, el password está dividido en diferentes lugares con diferentes personas. Por ejemplo, si él tiene una parte del password, solamente tiene un pedacito y digamos que yo tenga otro y Andrés otro, pero estamos por todas partes, así es como están estos passwords cuando los pones en una institución. Entonces, lo que pasó es de que toda la gente que se le estaba olvidando, que era un poquito más complicado, y todavía siguen comprando el Bitcoin, ¿no? Pero entendiendo la responsabilidad, porque si tú pierdes ese password como persona, como inversionista, solamente 20 veces tienes o 20 tries, ¿no? Que puedes aplicar para ese password, si no, se perdió. Entonces dice él que es la importancia. Cuando ya estás en una institución, ellos manejan ese riesgo, no tú realmente, y ellos se encargan de que este password esté así, dividido por la importancia de que no se lo vayan a robar, ¿no?
Correcto. Oye, aquí sí, rapidito, un comercial. Tenemos 207 subscribers en YouTube y tenemos 5 mirando. So, saluditos a Guillermo Nájera, que dice muchos saludos, bendiciones. Dice, hoy me siento que estoy en college en finanzas. Qué bueno.
Así es,
nos alegra
Guillermo,
mucho.
bienvenido. También tenemos a Esperanza Guerrero, dice presente. Esperanza, saludos para ti, bendiciones. También tenemos a José Corona, dice saludos, buenos días. Bueno, saludos para ti, José. Saludos hasta California, que también nos estás viendo. Espero, chicos, este episodio de hoy, esto de criptomoneda, es un poquito complejo.
Sí.
O un muchito complejo. Así es de que no se preocupen porque vamos a tener a Brandon más seguido, con más shows, pero por lo menos para que tengan una probadita de lo que es esto, qué es, cómo funciona y por qué está tan concurrido, ¿no? Entonces, yo tengo una pregunta para Brandon. Brandon, so we're going to talk a little bit about the risk, the volatility, and the common errors, the mistakes that people make. Why crypto is so volatile?
Bitcoin is a volatile asset, but it's not as volatile as it used to be. I think that's very important to know. Bitcoin, as we've seen over the weekend when announcements were made with tariffs, other macroeconomic risks out there, you are going to see Bitcoin sell off. Very similar to how you've seen, tech stocks sell off in events like that. So I think it's important to realize that Bitcoin still is a risk asset, not as risky as it used to be. We've seen 3 years in the years of 2014, 2018, and 2022, where Bitcoin was down over 60% in a given year. Ooh. That's a lot, double the average downturn during bear markets of what the S&P typically is down. So we have a very different crowd of investors right now. As I mentioned earlier, you have wealth managers You have pension plans. You have endowments that are investing in this. I like to say the example, Harvard University has $300 million worth of Bitcoin ETFs, according to their balance sheet. There's a different type of investor than those crypto bros trading in, their mom's basement. They'd
Yes.
see the price run up and then they would sell it, move on to something
The
else.
Reddit ones, yeah.
You have professional investors. And in Q4 last year, Bitcoin was down 30%. It had a steep sell-off, for lack of a better term. We view Bitcoin, it's a long-term investment. So these 30%, as a long-term investor like myself, was a great opportunity to buy more
Get in.
Bitcoin. And I think you have to look at that. When you are thinking about making an allocation, expect to have months, quarters of downturns within Bitcoin. But the dramatic 60, 70, 80% downturns at Grayscale, we have a lot of confidence that those are a thing of the past. But it still is a volatile asset, not as volatile as it once was, but it still is risky. So consider that when you are looking a part of your broad investment portfolio.
Correct. And I guess that when you invest in the long term, right, that also reduces that volatility, right, just on that risk, and also diversify because you're not putting, like you say, well, all these people in the basement, right, trading, putting stuff out there on Reddit, buy, and they put in everything in one basket. That's when people get hurt.
No one's ever lost money investing in Bitcoin if you've held the asset for 4 years.
There you go.
That is short term, yes. If you try to trade this tactically and you aren't an experienced trader, there is even more risk associated with this. But carving out that strategic allocation, whatever you're comfortable with, have that 3 to 4 year at least investment horizon. No one's ever lost money. Bitcoin's up over 90,000% since 2009. And again,
awesome.
there's been some, I'm not saying
Ups
that
and
that
downs.
number is completely linear,
Yeah.
but there have been some steep declines. But after those steep declines, usually follows with a triple-digit performance year.
Absolutely.
And again, that's not indicative of future results, but just how an asset like Bitcoin works.
Correct. And it goes with I guess it goes with the market because when you look at the history of the market, right, the market is always up, but in that line, it's not a straight line. It's been down years, up years, but on general, if you go from A to B, it's up.
In Bitcoin, it is a maturing asset. It's only been around for 16 years. And just right now, you're starting to see the professional investor community get involved, which will mute the volatility. Also, you may not see the upside potential like you've seen, but we're still calling as this does get adopted due to the scarcity. There's only ever going to be 21 million of these created. A stat that I like to share that really puts it into perspective. There's 20 million millionaires in the United States, and there's only 20 million Bitcoin available for everyone to purchase. If every millionaire in the United States purchased one Bitcoin, you'd see the price go through the roof. A supply shock would happen. There simply is not enough Bitcoin for everyone to go around.
Absolutely. And that's what that creates that demand, right?
Exactly.
That scarcity. The other thing that I was thinking about is like, there is also a big shift when you guys won that lawsuit with the Security Exchange Commission. And technically speaking, I want to say it makes it illegal, but it makes it attractive also to institutions because they start like feeling safe and they also saw the opportunity. And tons of money is coming into that area. Like, I travel a lot, so I remember like going back to Newark Airport and every single corner was a Grayscale sign. I'm like, what's going on, right? That's pretty awesome to see. So, great opportunity. It's a clean asset, very well managed. The way you guys have it structured, right, is you don't go and buy those 4 million different Wazoos that are out there.
Correct.
It's clean, right? You guys have already done the work up front, professionally managed, right, and structured for the consumer.
Yes. Bitcoin, Ethereum, the other major large cap crypto assets are here to stay. look, 99% of the stuff out there
It's gonna
is,
go. Yeah, we know. we know.
So,
That's true.
chicos, lo que Brandon está explicando aquí es qué volátil es, ¿no? Y dice que comparado a tiempos atrás, no es tan volátil, pero sigue siendo un activo que es muy, volátil. Entonces, nosotros hablamos de la diversificación, de no poner todos los huevos en una canasta. Y esto solamente es esa parte, ¿no? Una adición, no 100% cambiar carteras y hacer todas estas cosas, sino ser parte de si es algo que les interesa y dependiendo en el riesgo que estén y lo que quieran tomar, ¿no? Porque siempre es basado en el riesgo que tú quieras tomar en ese portafolio. Entonces, teniendo esas consideraciones. Entonces, esto me lleva a la segunda pregunta para Brandon. Él dice que no se puede perder todo el dinero, una cosa muy importante. Dice que si tú lo dejas ahí por lo menos por 4 años, tú puedes ver esas altas y bajas y al final del día es relativamente un tiempo corto, 4 años, ¿no? Para mí yo pienso que basado en lo que le decimos a los inversionistas es en un tiempo corto y él dice que usualmente en esos 4 años tú vas a ver que vas a subir y que no vas a perder en esa área, ¿no? Recordando que siempre es volátil y especialmente si tú no sabes lo que estás haciendo. Entonces, cuando él habla de eso es porque tú estás invirtiendo con un profesional, estás invirtiendo en instituciones que saben lo que están haciendo, no tú haciéndolo de tu casa, del garage o con por ahí algunas aplicaciones que están ahorita muy famosas, ¿no? De venta,
Exacto.
Andrés, de que en cuanto abres todo lo que tiene que ver con redes sociales, te están vendiendo todo eso, ¿no? Si lo entiendes o no lo entiendes, entonces está
Hoy todos los yujos son profesionales en YouTube. En cosas.
Todo el mundo es profesional. Entonces, esta pregunta es para Brandon y es que ¿cuáles son los errores más comunes de una persona que invierte por primera vez, ¿no? Los novatos, los que van ahí, los primeros que van a entrar. So, Brandon, what is the biggest mistake new investors make that you see in your experience?
A good example for new investors, when they first buy where we're at a top, like where Bitcoin was in October, when Bitcoin was trading at 126,000. It's currently at 90,000 today. It got as low as 80,000. People get spooked being down that 30, 40% figure, and then they sell out. The biggest mistake is you need to have that long-term investment thesis with Bitcoin, whether you're owning it, the token, or you're owning the ETF. I think it's important. You need to have that long-term mindset when owning an asset like Bitcoin. You need to take the time to understand it as well, where you can look at Bitcoin. Some people look at it as a trade where you're looking to make a quick buck. You could get burned pretty quick doing that. You need to look at this as a long-term allocation. I think that's the biggest mistake that people think. They think they're just going to buy this, get rich quick. Bitcoin is a slow, patient grind, if you will.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, lo que Brando está explicando es que uno de los errores más grandes es que la gente, cuando empieza a bajar la criptomoneda, no un 30, 40, 50, puede ser hasta 60, lo que hacen es que venden inmediatamente porque no pueden tolerar ver eso en su portafolio, ¿no? Porque acuérdense que la pérdida real es cuando vendes. Entonces, lo que pasa es que llega un momento que dices, ok, ya no puedo, ¿cuánto más va a bajar? Se me va a ir todo. Y empiezas a entrar en pánico. Entonces, ahí vendes. ¿Y qué pasa? Después da la vuelta. ¿Por qué? Porque se mueve muy rápido. Y es lo que él nos cuenta, que es uno de los errores más grandes. Entonces, él dice que cuando tú entras en estos portafolios a trabajar con gente profesional, es que lo veas a largo plazo, que no pienses que nada más vas a entrar, voy a hacer dinero así rápido como te lo dicen en los comerciales ahí de humo, sino que entiendas qué es, cómo funciona y cuál es la visión para esto y así tú no tengas que vender en estos tiempos equivocados cuando está bajo, ¿no?
Correcto.
Entonces, eso me encantó mucho. I think you hit it right on the head. With that explanation, because we see that a lot where folks just get very nervous, right? And then they start selling because they're panic, right? And then it turns around and guess what? Now you're really lost when you sold at the wrong time.
Yep.
Exactly. And it's not only in crypto, it's just investing in general, right? People just go with the hype.
Correct.
Oh, let's put this, let's put that. And then they just get scared because they didn't have a principle of investment, a long-term vision, and they didn't also diversify that risk.
Yes.
Right? That
It's the same
concentration.
story as other investments.
Correct.
Just Bitcoin is a bit more of that. Bitcoin's returns on average are made in 10 days on a given year. So you want to remain invested, and that's why if you're out of the market for those 10 days on average, you're going to significantly miss those returns. So have a portion of money you're comfortable with that you don't need to pay your bills next month.
Yes.
But you shouldn't be invested in money that you need to pay your bills, Brandon.
True.
Yes, keep that in Bitcoin and enjoy the ride.
That's fantastic. Now, let's talk about a little bit about regulation, right? Do you see regulation as the enemy or the friend?
We see regulation as a friend, specifically with an asset like Bitcoin. Last summer, we saw the Genius Act get put through Congress. One of the few things that, our country can agree on politically is that crypto is here to stay. Now, what we're going through right now is a market structure bill. And what that is focused on is clarifying things like, is Bitcoin a commodity or a security? How should this be taxed? What should this look like when banks hold this on their balance sheet? Those key factors are being debated in the Senate as we speak right now, and we're working on passing that comprehensive market structure bill. Once that bill gets passed, I've mentioned several times you're seeing institutions adopt this, but we are still so early. Once there is more clarity than there already is, once the ETFs got approved, that was the first stamp of approval. This legislative process that we're going through right now, once this gets passed, this is going to open up the doors for so many more investors to give them that added layer of comfort that, okay, this isn't going to go away in 4 years, in 8 years, when a new potentially anti-crypto administration comes in.
Correct.
The regulation and legislation that's going through right now is a huge friend of crypto. Again, crypto it opens the door for any type of investors, any person to come in. So to have these guardrails in place will help significantly on all fronts.
Exactly. And I think that we go into a transition in humanity that people underestimate, right? First trade of first commerce was trading of goods. It wasn't gold, right? Then eventually gold took over, right? And it became the most valuable thing to transact, to make a transaction to equivalent to any goods and services. What I see now is that Bitcoin is becoming that transaction commodity for the future. Because, hear me out, I look at pioneers, people who have long-term vision. Looking, for example, Elon Musk, what he's building, right? The Boring Company, Tesla, right? He has a SpaceX. He has the robots right now, right? Everything that he has built on is designed to what? To go to Mars. He's on a mission, right? So excavating tunnels to have habitats there, right? Robots, but also establishing commerce. There is no gold on Mars. We don't know if it's gold in the moon, right? But if we have a digital asset that can establish commerce, not only on Earth, but outside this world, that solves that puzzle. And it's already established, and it's just evolving.
Oigan,
Very
chicos.
unique.
Gracias, Andrés. Oigan, chicos, ya aquí ustedes agarren sus maletas que nos vamos a Marte, dice Andrés, con toda esta tecnología y todo lo que está pasando, y la única moneda que se va a poder usar, yo creo, va a ser esta.
Yeah.
Así es de que, bueno, dice Brandon que cripto llegó para quedarse.
Yeah.
No es algo que es pasajero, sino es la nueva onda, ¿no? Es algo que o te adaptas a un futuro. O sea, no sé qué tan despacio, qué tan rápido vayas, pero él dice que esto llegó para quedarse. Así que yo los leo acá por Facebook. Denos los likes, los corazones. Ya vi ahí que andan dormidos, no sé qué onda.
Yeah.
Pero si tienen algún comentario o tienen alguna pregunta, con mucho gusto se las contestamos. También dice Brandon que con todas las regulaciones que hay, son nuestros aliados. Eso hace que también protejamos al consumidor de todo lo que está pasando, de todas las vendimias, ¿no? Las chácharas que venden allá afuera. ¿Por qué? Porque tienen que pasar por leyes y reglamentos. Entonces, eso lo usamos a nuestro favor como aliados para seguir ofreciendo este tipo de información y de beneficios para ustedes, ¿no? Que tengan algo donde digan, ok, no nada más es alguien que se apareció de la nada, sino que también entiendan que hay muchas regulaciones y es lo que dice él, que son aliados, no están en contra. Entonces, todas estas instituciones que juegan en este papel también son parte de.
Right.
Y bueno.
The future of crypto?
Sí.
What did you see? What is the future of crypto? What do you see crypto going?
So for Bitcoin, we'll break that out into two questions. The future of Bitcoin, we are going to see continued institutional adoption. And that's going to be really the tailwinds behind that are going to be from legislation and regulatory framework in place, as well as demand for store of value assets, specifically finite store of value assets that react in the certain way we see macroeconomic conditions going. For example, rates coming down is good for Bitcoin. So the price of Bitcoin in the future, we're not going to make any price calls right now, but from what you hear, I wouldn't be surprised to see this go much higher than where we are right now. Grayscale, our outlook right now is we're expecting in Q1 this year, which we're in at the moment, to touch all-time highs. So we do see the catalyst there for Bitcoin to hit all-time highs in Q1. And again, we are in just the beginning. Now for the rest of crypto, the future, I see the next big evolution, or we see here at Grayscale, within the payment industry. A quick story that I'm 34 years old. I grew up in the 90s. Going to the grocery store with my mother, she would pay with a personal check at the grocery store. That is a thing of the past. I mean, you see it from time to time. I actually I tell the story all the time, and I've actually saw someone pay with a check at the grocery store 2
At
weeks
90
ago.
years old.
Yeah.
Right.
I say that because that was a lot more common decades ago. Now, everyone has a tap-to-pay credit card, at least a debit card that you can put your chip into the reader, pay for your goods. But even more so, there is an application. You have a Pavilions app, you have a Vons app, whatever it may be, in order to collect rewards, in order to pay for your groceries.
Yeah.
There isn't cash that needs to be transacted. So crypto is going to impact the payment industry for what's called a stablecoin. And real quick, a stablecoin is just a digital currency backed by dollars. It's not a good investment because it is dollar for dollar. It's extremely secure. But what that does is that it facilitates payments to be a lot more efficient, to be a lot more quicker. Where if you think about it, where if I go to the grocery store today, sticking on that topic, I swipe my credit card, what really happens right now? The merchant pays a fee to American Express.
Right.
American Express then goes to communicate with my bank. There has to be money debited and credited out of that. There is a lot of moving parts between the bank, the merchant, the consumer.
And the fees.
A lot of
Of
cost.
course, the fees, yes. What crypto allows you to do at a very high level is it allows you to eliminate these intermediaries. Like I said at the beginning, one word to describe it, decentralized. It's moving away from the banks. It's moving away from the corporations, meddling in between these transactions, deciding where money can be sent to and from. I think the next big thing for crypto is going to be in the payment space. That is a big topic of what's being discussed with the legislation. So between Bitcoin and then everything else in crypto, we think higher prices and then more real-world adoption.
Awesome. And do you think that crypto has moved from a speculation to allocation?
Most of the assets, even including Bitcoin, you can argue that that still is a speculative asset. Now, we can talk about what is behind Bitcoin, the computer science component of it, the mathematics behind it, that Bitcoin really is just the world's most powerful computer network out there using blockchain technology. But there is a lot of price speculation with an asset like Bitcoin. So again, that's why it still is risky, there still is a component of Bitcoin to be speculative. Now, not as speculative as it once was due to the investors right now, but I think there's always going to be a component of speculation. But as far as Bitcoin and Ethereum, these are two assets that have ETF approvals. The SEC has already put their stamp on these assets. So I would say they are pretty centrally located right now within our daily lives.
That's great to know.
So how important you think is education versus hype?
Education is extremely important. I think it took me, I started in Bitcoin in 2017, but I was just trading it where it was such a volatile asset there. Mm-hmm. We didn't even have to pay taxes. I would put $10 in the morning on Bitcoin and that thing would 10x, and that would be my beer money, after work right there. We'd do that all on the desk there.
Gotcha.
And then in 2018, you started to put, your driver's license in there so they could tax you on those transactions.
Of course.
Education is extremely important. Like anything, you want to know about, all right, if I'm going to invest in Starbucks stock, if I'm going to invest in companies in the S&P 500, what am I actually investing in? Same thing with Bitcoin. If you're going to invest in Bitcoin, make sure that there's a speculative component of Bitcoin, but make sure you understand to a degree the computer science behind it, what other companies are doing to enhance the Bitcoin space. How are they investing in Bitcoin? Education is extremely important. You need to spend hours upon hours looking
What value those companies are bringing into that space, right? That's crucial.
Exactly.
They use a name.
Thank you. Hay tanto de qué hablar, pero desafortunadamente ya se nos acabó el tiempo. Pero para dejarlos aquí con algo que se lleven un último nugget de lo que acaba de decir Brandon, es que la educación es mucho más importante que la moda. Sí, la tendencia es entender realmente por qué quieres entrar, cómo trabaja, qué más te pueden ofrecer estas compañías en la parte de seguridad, ¿no? De que tengan ya todo un sistema creado y no entres nada más así, sino que entiendas cómo funciona y que te respaldes por profesionales que entiendan lo que están haciendo. Correcto. Así que, bueno, con esto los dejamos. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros. Brandon, thank you so much.
Brandon, thank you so much for being here, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Aquí recuerden, compártanlo, es gratis, es muchísima información que Brandon nos hizo el favor de compartir con todos ustedes, nuestra comunidad latina. Así es de que por favor pasen la voz, compartan esta información para sus hijos, especialmente porque la mayoría fue en inglés, entonces ellos les va a encantar muchísimo este tema. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles, muchísimas bendiciones, abrazos, nos vemos, chao.
Chao, chao.
Bye.
Bye.